Community is always work, and that's also true of a church planting cluster. We've made some mistakes along the way. One early fork in the road was a feud that broke out between two emerging groups. One group was the original 4 church planters. We got some advice that we should think of ourselves as a sort of law partnership. We were the senior partners, and for other partners to join in, they needed to pay their dues. And that dues was to start a church of their own and be on their way. It seemed wise at the time, but a second group emerged, a group some called the Young Reverends, and grew a little bitter about this lack of being included in the partnership. You can imagine that such an arrangement, junior partner, senior partner, created some tension. This was especially true the day the senior partners were walking through Manhattan, attending a church in Harlem and then in Manhattan with Tim Keller, while the Young Reverends were back in Sacramento only to hear stories later about these new ideas that would be implemented for them. It wasn't long before we realized this senior partner, junior partner might work great in a law firm, but was not conducive to the kind of community we wanted to have our church planting cluster really be. And so over time, we came to create what we might think of as a rule of order, much like the ancient monastics had. Now, we've never formalized this ancient rule of order, but we have practices that we have engaged in really for more than 10 years. One is the practice of community. The monthly meetings, 3 hours over lunch, are a high priority. There are 100 things that we could be doing as leaders, but we choose to do this one thing, which is to engage in this community, this church planting cluster. At the heart of these monthly meetings are a number of items. One is to be leaders who are always learning. The topics each month are chosen by the planter, the church planter who hosts the meeting, and we rotate from church plant to church plant. Another important thing is encouragement. This isn't a formal part of the meeting, but we always leave meetings thinking, I'm ready to keep going. Because we're together, I can do this. Another is a kind of accountability. This isn't formalized in structures and on paper, but we challenge each other by example and by honesty, and by this joint learning we're engaging and applying it to each other. Another part of this monthly meeting is dreaming. We're always dreaming about new churches, dreaming about interviewing and making plans to interview new church planters, and thinking about campus ministry and how our network might connect with another network. We also keep each other honest in terms of personal health. Along with that idea of community and the practice of it monthly comes a yearly retreat. Typically, this is 2 nights. And during that retreat, we worship together, sometimes with the ancient ritual of matins, other times with silence or with guitars. We also play together. We've gone sailing and hiking. We've explored a city. Sometimes we strategize and plan together. We've also had times where we learn together. We've had Neil Plantinga out for a reading seminar and others as well. There's often adult beverages and cigars. There's always laughter and storytelling at these yearly retreats. This community is a kind of posture. In speech and in practice, we are for each other. We are with each other. There's a level of honesty that comes from a deep commitment to each other. I remember when one of the planters needed to honestly examine, is it time to close? He didn't want to close. He didn't think it was time to close. And by God's good grace, he was determined to keep going. But with the church planting cluster, we were able to say, it's time. It's time to close. Another part of this rule of order we could think of as submission. The senior partners, after that learning, are no longer called senior partners. We don't act that way either. Everyone learns from everyone. This is a peer-led group. No one is specifically in charge. Every church planter, the one who even showed up a month ago, has an equal voice with a person who's been here 15 years. Another part of our rule of order is the discipline of listening. We listen to each other's context, to the micro-environments each of us live in. We also, in this rule of order, have the rule of celebration. We play. G.K. Chesterton said the true object of all human life is play, and we take G.K. Chesterton seriously, and so we try to recreate with each other, especially on that annual retreat. Another part of this rule of practice is Sabbath keeping. We believe that to keep ministry sustainable long-term, we need to take a rest. And our families need rest. One of the recent church planters went on a family leave when his fourth child was born, and we as a group rallied around him to keep the church going while he was gone. Another's about to go on sabbatical, and we as a church planting team are all going to take different times in his church service, different weeks in his church service, to keep his service going as best we can as well. So these are part of the rhythm of the rule of order we could think of. Another part of this rule of order is stability. One church planter has been here 21 years, another 16 years. Someone else was here 11 years before he transitioned out. Another one 15 years, another 12 before they transitioned out. And now the young reverends have all been here almost 12 years.